detail. It's okay, then let it go into quickly.
I think we have half an hour. I think up to you what you want to take us up to, and then next week we start where we left off. I think maybe.
Geshe was a little bit concerned for the timing because he sees some of us here are new today. So he really wanted to devote certain time for your own kind of introduction. So that's where he would offer the review, and then it's become a quite detailed explanation. And obviously he's not going to be able to finish the entire the session this evening. And from next week, Geshe need to start where he left from the previous session. But the reason that Geshe went in detail is for your own benefit, because they are the really most important section of the practices, the root, the most foundation. That's where he focused more in detail. So, in one way of looking at the London practices, is considered very profound, high practices. And then on the other hand, there are a lot of basic practices involved in that, and having a really clear understanding about the basic steps in the most profound teaching, I felt so important. So I'm compelled to really provide you a clear instruction and explanation, and for that reason it took us much longer time than we planned. His Holiness reminded us during the teaching at the Beacon Theatre that an Indian friend of him went to hear teaching, and at the introduction it was the most amazing instruction and so on. And then the second day, in the beginning they talk about the bodhicitta, the benefit and of helping other sentient beings and so on. So he was really inspired. And then the next day they start talking about the health, the heart, the cold, and so on. And then it was really unbearable, so he left. And we were almost becoming like that. So, yeah, we have to be quite balanced in our discussion.
대주기 최초에 밀려있다 자신을 봐서 딴 거. 자신을 가르쳐나 대주기 최초에 밀려있디 렌징이야 말이에요. 태만지 모두 이니에 말아 지단이면서 저 당면 발 렌사래 대나니 밀려있다 렌징이야 말이에요. 세네로. 렌징이야 봐야 아니 대화제단 저거 좀 상에 밀려있디 톱되어야 세네로. 톱어티야 아니 이게 가오시도 이게 가오시고 이게 가오들라 뭐고니 이게 가오 빼고니 이게 가오 유고니 이게 가오 되는 계속 총자로 어디게 소리 이게 가와라 아니 이게 가오디 마하코니 다 밀려는 거치디 세디라가 다가갔다 즉 손견에 계산될 레바디 소소이 하고래 세네로 된지 시기네 아니 이제 뒤주도 하죠 아니 대인안했다 된지 최초에는 밀려들었다 소소이 타성고서 제네 세대라 지금 인물 렘빌로디 다 가도 있는 기준을 갖고 진실로 세네다면서 다 갈라다 람든 도솔라 지금 람든 공백하다 소소겠다 라마에도 생기 참다 보고는 주도 소소이나 진실로 그렇지 세네 어디지 숨고요 살에 세네로.
So in the second stanza, basically it's reminding us how rare and precious is the human birth. And then in the London, the great treatise, it gave us a lot of examples, gave us a lot of reasons how hard it is to really attain human birth and so on. So you all know that, we talk about it. And so here, by reminding us how rare and precious the human birth is, and then it's really advising us to make the best use of this rare gem, if you like. And so in the form of a prayer, inspirational prayer, is saying, please bless me, and asking please to our gurus, the deities, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, saying, please bless me to make this life meaningful. How meaningful? To really fully utilize this most amazing human birth to attain liberation for all of the sentient beings.
어디에 시작하시니까 사실로가 시디 이게 subject 한 번인지 뒤에 되는 연구인들이 시작을 했어요. 얘는 다 쇼로가 숨어디 카리스마스나 단다 엔지니어에 대한 기준을 가져가는 또 류소요가 추유주고 신경도 집이 치워 참바다에 시기니디 치워면 다와 체에 숨어로 했어요. 다 뒤에 처음에 다와 체에 계신 것이 오래 시작했어요. 류소요가 추유주고 신경도 집이 치워 참바다 시기니디 다 치워면 다와 체에 대해서 아니 그러다 유대집에 저 시외지소 류단 제마제 까나들이 지신 장왕라 순예디 다디 단다 오 레김들 단다 이쟁에 로 레김들 셰들로 까나들이 지신 장왕라 어디에 나 쇼로가 시그니로 시그니디게 추어메다 버티시 아치고 오만니디게 아니 렌들라 이쟁에 레김들이 남세 시기도 스미로
그데이는 그냥 디스노스와 田庄那个去，桥里头不人家是等你的那出去了。
我进了，说我进了，
这出去了，你不是苏北，
你不是苏北的那个出的，你不的生意的些，是吧？但是年轻人已经绿色有去我是有的这边去我全部当来的去我们到我这，是吧？安尼他的还是你的西北就是绿的，起码是可能就是七星张望的苏年的来源的一些年。我第一些都是的，到时候如果
你们就说不定那出去。So the third stanza, I'll read it first, and then maybe we go over. Is
my body and the life in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Page 5, right? Here what it is. So page 5, in the third stanza is very important. It contains when we talk about the lovely meditation, the four sections of the meditation. The first one is the leisure and endowment of the human birth, which we explained in the second stanza. The third stanza contains the second and the third section, the meditation on impermanence and the cause and effect, karma, the relationship cause and effect, in the one stanza. So basically saying my body and the life in it are fleeting as the bubbles in the sea flood of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me to find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I've done, the way of luck, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow away close behind, as certain as my shadow. So then saying, grant me, so on. And here, in these stanzas, first is reminding us of the nature of the impermanence. It's really fleeting away and so on. And then it's reminding us what happens after your death. It's reminding us it's the karma that you follow. If you did good things, it'll take you to a better place. If you engage in a negative karma, you have to bear the black result. So two sections of the meditations contains in one stanza.
다디나네 삽지 이거들 선물이 갖다 세티거든 와서 치워 메다와 텐 야고지 텐토가 임베는데 취치에라 바 슈게인의 치워 메다와 지기를 잘해요. 삽지 이거들 그래서요 취주 뉴도 지기 치워 텐바다 소라 뉴도 지버스나 스무도마도 그래서 지기 치워 텐바다 스무도 와서 지바다에는 뉴도 지버라야지 단단한 시시거든요 스무도 와서 치워 메다와 텐주들라야 아니 이게 남들나 가르쳐서 싸워 중심고 다시로 숨기고 시시하세요. 싸워숨도 가르쳐나 미타고 고개 걸라다 자와 숨지 가르삼로 땅 곳에나 남친 예배를 했으네. 어 예발치기를 했으네요. 예발치기를 했으네. 직체. 아니 남친 예매. 아니 시위 거보다 최모도 수직이 딱 패면도 뭐 자와 숨들이 시작했으니. 처음에다고 공배 걸로 캐나다다 미타고 공배 걸라 다마도 다 공부한다는데 잘라도 몸나 편도케 처음에다고 공부를 소속이다. 미 밀르디인데 기지기지다 직도 다니는 거지 공투가 공배 걸라 삼루디 숨땅 거였어요. 예전에로 야버치와 남신님의 아니 시위거도 출마도 강의님이고 한데 제시수도 숨지 셨으니.
So the importance of meditation on impermanent is really obvious because it's become the driving force for our Dharma practices. It's the meditation on impermanence, the death and so on, really push us because in the text it reminds us saying the nature of the life is such as really comes certainly within a very short span of time, and the life is fleeting away from us, and the death comes so fast, and so that really triggers our, if you like, the attention, and so it sometimes becomes the cause of the force behind our meditation, and therefore it's a very powerful meditation. And when we do meditate on the nature of impermanence and the death, there are three reasons we have to cultivate in our mind stream. The first is that the certainty of death, that the death would come to all of us, is certain. There is no kind of approximity, right, about the death. It will surely come. So you have to convince that to yourself. It's a factual reasoning. And the second, I think, the nature of the impermanent, the second reason is the uncertainty about the death. There's no fixation, although we like to think it's such. But the death comes at a very short notice. It comes out of blue. It comes kind of without any warning. So this very uncertain kind of nature of the death. And that's, I think, the second reason when we meditate on the nature of impermanence. And then the third one is that when you die, it's only the Dharma practices, the Dharma which really would have impact on you. It's the engaging in the Dharma practices and following the perfect way of karma and so on would be the most powerful impact of when the death comes. And therefore, in the Lamrim Chimo, the great treatise on the path to enlightenment, Lama Tsongkhapa referred these three meditation, the reasoning, as the root, reasoning, or the most powerful reasoning.
The root reason sumdelaya, that sawa sumche kolarawa, reele gimse sum kuenita, rawa, nyeba chiwi gimse karezen sum kuene gimse layene mato, chi kyabaye gimse rangla dugyo samarwa. Ta nyeba chiwi gimse sum kuene, nyeba chiwi chide lamna ta dire sare, ta chiwi jikwaling re senero. 치위 직발레는 시고로 왔으니 어디에 치위 직발 이지미지 레기르드니 김제 직들이 시작했으니까 되네 니바들라 되네 치위 직발 레기르 했으니까 아니 세라는 베기야요 말했으니
되네 니바 치미서 되나
니바 이게 sabje 숨도 알아 sabje 당보들라 김제 숨고에
이놈에게 니바 치미게
아니 니가 좋아하지 세련이 ಬಗ್ಗೆ 좋아하지 아니 너한테 가르쳐 주지 되네 치워냐 봐 세련이 아니 선비가서다 최 자동매바 시바에 매는 야바 치고래 했으니 최신의 치고에는 야바 치고래 최 맞지는 서버 레벨가로 최신의 맞지는 야바 치고래 했으니 어디래자 수비제 최 자동매바 시라에 또
자동매바 시로
나 어디래 중소순들이 시작했어
and then Lama Tsongkhapa gives he gives the three the root reasoning, and of the first one is the certainty of death, and under the certainty of death he gives further three reasonings to convince that. The first is like the death would surely come, and it will, experience for everyone. The second is the reason under this first reason, the certainty about death. He said we cannot add additional lifespan. Like when the death comes, nothing can be really done. No one can save you. No one can add, if you like, a complementary lifespan or something. That's something undoable. You cannot do that. And then while you're alive, and when the death comes, then you have no chance of saying, now I'm going to practice Dharma, please give me more money. You cannot really go back. It's like unreturnability. That's like saying, oh great, now I'm going to die, I better practice Dharma. You cannot go back. Time's already consumed. Your time's up. So these are the three further reasoning for the first, the root reason.
단 이거 될라야 김제 숨이래 했으니까 단다 남친님에 들어라 남친님에 단 가듯이 하고 뭐 김제 가르래 했으나 다 zambulingi tsela nyabakyo nyo ma re sene ro ro ju su do su ye na tsela nyabakyo nyo ma ro lo tselo gyawai na lo geju la shi ding lo geju ding mi tu lo tu ju la shi ding de ro lo tu ju la shi gu yin ya lo geju ding de yin do wa sene ro deinda zambulingi tsela nyabakyo ma re sene ani chigdire ta niba de kar sena 시에 당 수행 체나 시에 낀디 망설리기 도왔으네 수행이 니 미미슈고 레샤 스네 테이서 남신이 레샤 스네가 예지하세요 아니 소소기다 우리 가서 또 쳐보이네래 가서다 슉 쳐보이네래 시리 지금 신기하네서 루이 양충은다 충준다 루이 쳐보 시리 지금 신기하러 왔으네 남신이 메러 왔으네 김스슨 디고 레샤 스네.
And so the second, the root reason is the uncertainty about the impermanence or the death. First one is the certain nature of the death. Second, uncertain nature of the death. And Lama Tsongkhapa will give three reasons for that, for meditation purpose. And he's saying in this planet, and for all the beings who are surviving in this planet, or the Jambul, or the land of the Jambul, our life is so uncertain that there is no kind of a guarantee of how long we're going to live, because no one can really predict, no one can say how long we're going to live. So we're living in this very uncertain time. So that uncertain, I think, lifespan is one reason why the death is so uncertain. And the second reason is there's so many causes and so many conditions for death. Well, very little causes and conditions favorable to life. If you look around, there's so many causes. We all have to all the time protect ourselves. There's so many conditions that will fall us into death, and so that's obvious. So that's also in part of this uncertain nature of the death, the time of the death. So uncertain time of the death. And then the third is, regardless of your own condition, the physical condition, death applies and it comes to everyone, whether you're in good shape or you're in bad shape. When the time's up, you go. And so that's the third reason, regardless of our physical condition, death affects us all.
숨바디 간에서나 시비 코도 처음부터 간기에 메펜바들라 메펜비 김전 카르레스나 sabsiko gimza sumkwe ne ane lui ning jibo da ane lui to ta lui ning jibo da mit kalor tomjo chombo da ta lui ning jibo ye pingi mare ane longcho penjo gyuchombo ye na pingi mare ane ni pingi ta gyata karda gyata tonta yoba ye na pingi mare sene ta suyi pingi resena ta chomoto 수직이 핑이 말해 쓰니 뭐다 타마데라 김세 승거 르 롱저 닝기 수직이 메된다
그러니까 당고들이 르도 롱저죠 소모도 쳐
니
당고들 르지 니르도 니
롱저 니바지 롱저 샤신
니 롱저지
라 소바지 니 이 숨게 수직이 핑이 말해 쓰니 메표바 인자 핑이 리소레스나 처마도요 말해 쓰니 김세야 보고도.
So the third reason and staying only the Dharma practice would be beneficial to your in the time of the death count. Nothing would really help. And in Lama Tsongkhapa gives a two reasons for that. Whether you have a good physical conditions, whether you have a beautiful and wonderful physical endowment and so on, or whether this wouldn't help when the time of the death comes. And the second reason is your wealth and your kind of all the possessions are not going to be able to save you from your death when the time comes. That's the second reason. And then the third is your relatives, your family members, your friends, your community. They're not going to be able to help you when the time of the death comes. And then what really helps when the time of the death comes is the Dharma practice. That's only beneficial when the time of the death comes. Otherwise, in sum up, number one, your physical conditions, regardless of your physical characters, they're not going to be useful. And the wealth and the possessions, they're not going to be useful. And your relatives and communities and friendships and so on, they're not going to be helpful when the time of the death comes. And only your Dharma practice.
어디를 쉬었으니 다 타마데라 즉 삼로 땅한다나 남바 일리차는 시기매스니로 나 남바 일리차냐 처음부터 간이에 빙기 말하더니 죽음매스 로 수분내기 다 삼로 땅 바이 바이나 땅마서 땅다 되나라 다 나주 제시를 갭되고 그래 다 나주 롭싱이 미디기다 슈마스 로기고 차네 유름고 되어야 바이나 다 소소 가 녀마이 집 녀샤요 된 오다 추라니 지구에서는 가가 간다 지금 많이 다양한 송화자들이 즐기러 왔으니 최케랑이 케밀링이 되는 뭐 통도 넣었으니라 그런 파악들라 중에 로경고 참다 싶도라 뭐들은 지금 미네 대리도 왔으니 이 가르쳐 버렸으나 다 최치는 재미시 아니 시우 무대에 모두 내려왔으니 아니 대리도 왔으니 if I 지신이 지어인 바이나 꼭 가방을 선물지 땅으로 딱 마시고래 최신의 알아 핑계에서 선물이 고고래 다 처음 제 마시는데 쉬고 무대에 모두 왔으니까.
And so if you think critically, if you think objectively, people who follow the spiritual path and the people who are not following any spiritual path, you can see the benefit even for this life. Because when you go for a walk and observe around the city, people who are following Dharma and so on, they're very busy, they're very engaged. It's like they have a very active life. And then people who are not following Dharma practices, when they kind of a much kind of elder, older, they seem like lost. They lost themselves. They have nothing really to engage. And they seem just like almost like waiting for the death. So people who are engaging in the Dharma practices, they really cultivate their mind. They really become very active. They engaged. Although they're in a much later part of their life, they're fully kind of engaged, and that's a wonderful benefit of engaging in the Dharma practices.
간사는 경험을 두고다 빌리네 딜도 프랑스 야리네 마세바 기부면서 저왔던 거 쓰네로 세바 기부거나 교노 로즈펜저 차상에 지고다 세바 기부 메데 생기 시대 말아 생기 시대라 로중에 돈에 나오는 것도 유노 로즈펜저기 개핑이면도 왔으네 세딜라 핑이면도 세체만라 핑이면도 왔으네 심시대야라 어디래도 왔으네.
So if we talk about peace, peaceful mind, His Holiness also mentioned in a recent teaching that he had a friend who had billions of dollars, and then yet when they wanted to see him, they looked so unhappy, and when he asked, and they said they're so unhappy, they really very they're restless. The mental state is very restless. And obviously, these billions of dollars didn't help really bring peace and happiness into their mind state. And this is because when you think about joy and peace and so on, it has to come through your training. is to come through your Dharma practice and training. That only brings joy and peace, and it's not the kind of wealth. And so from that few kind of advices, it's so obvious that if you want a genuine peace and happiness, you have to cultivate that through education and training. That is not the wealth that will bring it.
타티인자 담다디 치워메다가 즉 전당대로 그런 김제서로 가시지 도와서 뭐 디스그 때문에 결함도 즉아 주나오에는 원다에는 인구에는 소소 렐나가 저베가보다 또소 즉 상도지 땅바에나 또 교와티 로스티바레스네로 내려 상도 땅바에 바에 다디 조바에 어 땅만 주는 런저 그 지금면도 다시 위거수 또 나라지 공부디에 파시안에서 다 로랑고 가지고 도우도 상고 내려 상도 로라지 소 수충부지 레바이면 안 신의 최치에라 다 돈아 수충부 리그에 세네로 말로 춘주래 많이 지오래 나 주는 로편저 충부였으니 아원이 되게 말했으니 어 나버도 이지미지 다 딜라 또 상도 땅도 바이면 지편도 많이 되니였으니까
So I really suggest that you guys meditate on these three reasons, the three root reasons of the nature of impermanence, and then further meditate on the three sub-reasons for each of the root reasons every day. And as you meditate on this, and then it's really cultivate that thinking nothing but the Dharma is going to be helpful when the time of the death comes. It makes it so obvious that your wealth, your beauty, even your body is not going to help you. Even this very body we think is healthy and blah blah blah. When the time comes, you have to leave it behind, and you have to go alone. You have to leave everything behind. And then when that kind of feeling comes, this like a spooky feeling, and then you start thinking it's only your Dharma practice that's going to accompany, that's going to help you. And then you really start engaging in the Dharma practices. That's where the meditation on the nature of impermanence is so powerful and so important. And so I urge you, when you travel in the Southwest, like commuting, maybe you reflect these reasons, and you will see the power behind that later.
Deve giubi no se shudo luigi tanda namshe giubi ko sedebe na gyase la len smedi ati de chibole do asene ro samlo shimsabu tangba ya dembare do asene ko dende ye thone chi samlo nyanya tangba imba na chüche la dosma shugyap thusari asene ro yara ye chiwo ma ga asene ro ngani mi khawa ke da ji chamjom jo lamza do shege asene hektor ha go asene ya jo la khala jo la lamza do shege asene nan na ogi de de
So Geshe was saying that even in the 37 the practice of bodhicitta or the bodhisattva practices, the 37 bodhisattva practices, the Geshe Tongme he also pinpointed on this issue, and he was reminding us again, when the time of the death comes, you have to leave all your possessions, your relatives, everything comes with this body, you have to leave them, and also you're leaving the body like you're leaving a guest house behind. Your mind, the consciousness will depart from this body, and your body is also become like a motel or guest house. You have to go alone, and when that thing start taking place, then it's only the Dharma practices which really become the most important asset. And for that reason, that Geshe Tongme was advising us that we start really thinking that way and putting focusing on the most important things. And so if you meditate on this kind of topic, it's very powerful. But I wanted to remind you that I do not meditate on this every day. As Hector would know, that whoever invites me for dinner, I'm so happy to be there. I don't meditate on these topics. So we're going to stop here tonight. For the regular student, of course, you know much better. But for the new student for tonight, if you have any questions,
다 고조도 그처럼도 도와드려 싸워야 좋아지게 당시나.
For the people who are new for tonight, what do you think of the discussion? Do you have any questions, any doubt about this? Maybe we can spare a minute. And so you come with a kind of fresh mind, and you shouldn't leave with a fresh mind. You leave with something back.
So when you're contemplating something like impermanence, it seems natural that lots of negative emotions would come up, like fear, grief, hopelessness. Are there things that you do alongside of just thinking about impermanence that help support that, so you don't feel too discouraged?
어디 사람들이 띠는 신이 신하지 신거 신하도 특별히 완전히 삼선다 초하를 선선 님에서 그냥 초음도 선선 신하서 좀 남가 준 거. 근데 이거 연대가 일단 딜지 가서는 아주 인내버릇 가려요.
신하를 내가
딱 그거 미다고 공주도 신하이 그거 봐. 이게 뭐지? 딱 님에서 초음도 선선 이거 봐지. 딱 달리반 시도 근데 이제 아주 사바 다른다시 이치를 사무들이 연락하게 홀레 예복돼요.
sembrano scenario in becavlata samlo khai dici vorresti tanti dicevo cavlata samlo mano ta mitavo come cavlo smora mitavo come delle scenande levena scenandi più carere delle ledo samlo di tammo sì scenande giugo ora ro ta scenande giudi mozi mai ta di giudi mevasla teni nimbo khoran kaду bodo pavici kadu bodo timoro modo 내가 신나 시기도를 가르쳐서는 아무것도나 되게 말아 봤어. 시기 지금 규주 보러. 가리던 시기도 말해라. 내가 바로 메타보 공부를 시기도 좀 몰라. 안 되지만. 그래서 메타보 공부를 시기도나 시기 규주 삼로 땅 거래했으니로 말해라. 미다고 공부를 시기도 나 시기도 람나 시기도 나다 최초로 했습니다. 말해.
So Geshe was replying that while you're meditating and contemplating on the nature of impermanent, sometimes you get this fear, the hopelessness, or the scary feeling and so on. And at the time, what do we do? And the Jew is really go to that root of the fear and where does that fear is coming from? You really have to trace that source of the fear. What causes us that fear? And then when you're able to identify that, then you think, I can get rid of this fear through practicing Dharma. And the Dharma may be later the solution to really eradicate this fear. So you have to go deeper, and you shouldn't really interrupt your meditation purely because you have this like a spooky feeling.
말해라.
딱 good 가르래. 제시할 게 뭐지? 싸우고 오늘 싸우고요.
또 그만 싸워야 돼. 대마 담아 매도. You're the first time here, yeah?
Yes.
내가 지금 그때 과대로 교도소 시작.
시에 유대를 왔다. 또 최유tun에 삼로 담바이나 맞았다. 다시 시원하셔도 예배 동안 다 이다기 동안 저녁 동안 되게 망보셔요. 딱 녀와 나나 딱나 메타보 공부를 세들라니 지금 메로 두자겠냐 제대로 딱나 시와에 나 녀와를 두고 쓰는 근데 제마 인바에는 딱 내가 딕샤치고 그랬어요. 말해. 미치고 그랬어요. 딱에 단다 메로 녀데 키에 메로 편도에 치면 디니신에 데데에 나왔네. 한 편도에 캐치야 말 딱들라냐? 이 계기 메로 녀에 키게 말에 편도에 지금 말 딜라와는 땅염자라 땅염 제바 인바에는 아니 소소 이게 딱 저 주변에야 마사지 라도 그랬어요. 땅님 대ken이요 말했어요. 말해라. 어디게 돈에다 컵도컵도라 시나 가르려기 텔레비전다 님뭐 컵도컵도 때 모르겠어요.
So when you concentrate on the nature of impermanent, and then you get this really fear, you get really scared, and then when you really analyze, why you're so scared. And one of the reasoning is you're not sure what's going to happen after you die. And then you're looking at the cause and effect relationship. When you engage in a wholesome action, And when you die, the benefit is there. And so thinking, if I done something really terrible in this life and you're scared of the consequences, then you engage in a confession and the purification of your negative deeds by engaging properly in the practices. And then sometimes you feel, I don't know what's going to happen when I die. I mean, I didn't do really bad things, I didn't do good things, I'm just who I am. And when you have this kind of a feeling, then you know how the cosmic effect works. When you engage in a good thing, you also enjoy a good result. And then maybe use the time to cultivate positive and wholesome action, so that you bear the wholesome result. So in meditation on the nature of the impermanent, and you really first of all see what is this fear. Is it your fear that you're going to fall into the lower realms, including hell and so on? If you're scared of that, maybe do things that will prevent you from falling into this. And then if you're not so sure, and then cultivating good things, so the positive result would come out of that. And so that's a useful practice as well.
아니 그냥 직신도에 들려요 있는 해적님도 좋아하는 그런 뜻이 얘기를 했습니다.
And if you need a further explanation on this subject, we have to go to the best person, because he can provide you a full explanation how and what causes this and what are the solutions, how you engage and so on. And they have to look a good person to look at.
Happy to help.
It was similar to that, but thank you so much for teaching me. Very amazing. So you said you contemplate death in your meditation, and you think, I understand that my friends and my wealth, if I had wealth, would help me, or the first thing you said, like, your body, and that the Dharma is the only thing that helps. Can you say a little more specifically how the Dharma helps? Because you just mentioned that in your practice you would plant good karma, and that will help you at the time of death. Are there other ways that your Dharma practice helps you at the time of death besides just having planted positive and negative karma? Like, is it that your state of mind, or like, how exactly is my practice going to help me when I die?
Sure.
At the moment of.
At the
You
moment
mean
of
specifically at the moment?
death. Yeah.
Sure. Geshe lage chiwa 지금 미다고 범계에 그냥 싸워. 예, 이제 좀 거나 소스. 인제는 시력을 취업하면 시야가 되게 된 말에서 요런 주니에 되게 말에 숨다. 뒤에는 막 시월 거다. 시타는다. 시월 거야.
시도시더라.
시월 거다. 거기 치와 요몇 거. 취업은 이제 빙만을 선바. 근데 이제 취업 비차선 날 해야 된다. 소소한 겨와사고 디비샤고 제 거기 빙을 봤어. 치월 거는 시사는. 그 대단히 너무 어렵다. 근데 치와면다고 요몇 거야. 취업은 이제 빙을 내면은 취업 그래서 취업가 그래서 빙을 그때도야 다 봐도 취업 근데 용 신들 거야. 믹스 핸들이야. 남인데 그래요.
최기 펜송에도 되래. 담다 세대라다 두고 가서 용바디 최지기 란사 매버서 계제 말했어. 세대 누구 용바디 경험에 내리라 삼도당고 했어요. 담다 말해. 세대라다 미도도 유노를 좀 여기 먹어줘도 가시냐 최근에 지리면 나서 시골내리기도 왔어요. 가시게 되게 도발되기도 최근에 지니면 시골 나되기도 최면도 좀 라야지 디다 어디 삼로 가서는 단다디 최치의 대부 나자 최치는 나자 되려고 말와서는
시월 거네. 그러면 치와에 물어봐. 뒤에서 삼 근데 다 핑그래. 시도 딱그 시도가 봐. 뒤에 냠내 가지고.
또 예슴 못 담으러. 예슴 이거 좀마다 dinle kingeरे मानो चिवा ठमो न निजले यसरो चिवा ठमो कमला येसम सेच नजिले भइन फन्द छुछुम छु यसरे मेगु येसम सेच बेले भइन ये त्यहाँ ये सुन लेसे
그래서
येसम येसे जबे कमला त खुरान त सेम मिसो वदिले आदिरो सेम मिसो वता ठमादु जोला चिसम ठमो कमला ले देरो दिने कमला मिजिगिरो मिजिगि खुरान ला त malo 전수의 신경 속에 채워있는 상스의 전기 된 누워지게 살아서 치선 처먹하고 남기 최초는 연령 마시와 있는 미술 라마진데 보이는 캐라 라마를 계속 라바놓고 냐만 큐리 다 토요 말에 토비 봐줘요 말에 펜도 개에서 말에 콜라지 치선 처먹하고 냐만 냐는 체신이 미지 보이면 치선 처먹으로 콜라 스웨트 있다 보이면 남자 계시 주는 데서 네가 어디 핑계 있어. 겨워치마다 팽이 말했어.
아니 우리 다 가지고 말아 가는 체디 겨 디지털 something 뭐나에 담고 있어. 근데 쉬는 거.
어디에?
Yes, so generally speaking, we talk about the karmas. And sometimes we have a lot of problems in this life. We practice dharma, still we're having a lot of challenge and so on. And you shouldn't really consider dharma practice as a
라마지 두스면서 진짜로 킹게 가서 남마 간제 다리를 되었으면 치마 간도 라기 다리스면 되었으면 스면이 레도 왔으니라 남마 간제 다리를 돼 치마 간도 라기 스면 되어라 이래요.
So when we think about dharma, we shouldn't think it as like a direct antidote to the problems of this world. You know, because we have a lot of problems, partly we believe in the cause and effect. We already cultivated some of the cause in our previous lifetime, so we're rather, for better or for worse, we're enjoying what we cultivated. And so just having some kind of a dharma cannot purify instant. So that's important too, because sometimes people get discouraged when you talk about the discouragement, that, oh, why am I going through this hell? Because I'm practicing dharma. So you think beyond this life, maybe it's some of the karmas that we have in contact in the past. There's a connection to it. So that will give you a good perspective. And then regarding the time of the death time, what practice is effective or powerful? Geshe is saying that really generating this wholesome thought in your mind stream, really free your mind stream is keeping busy with a really wholesome action. Any kind of thought, wholesome thought, any thought that brings benefit to you and others, and these are very powerful. And especially
치선 처먹하고 온시 차단 가르사리 온시의 내가 지는 것이만 가르사리 생각.
And when the different stage of the death processes, and when you get to the very subtle stage of the death, where your faculties and the sense and so on, they already declined, and your kind of very subtle mind, is processing, the departure, if you like. At that time, then if you're really able to put your mind in a wholesome thought, filled with wholesome thought, that's very powerful. And so that's where it's important to do regular practices. For someone who had no practice or understanding of the Dharma, and then somebody else try to help him to remind that, it wouldn't be effective. So usually some of the Tibetan tradition is someone who is familiar with the practices sit next to you and then remind you all these positive thoughts, the powerful thoughts and so on. And when you already have the seed in your mind stream because you have been practicing, and then only things you need is a glance of a reminder. You just need like a reminder in your subtle mind, and it will absorb that memory and keep your mind in a positive thinking, and that's very powerful. And so regarding this, how you really look at what kind of outlook you should have as a Dharma practitioner. One of the Lama before wrote very beautifully in Tibetan, saying, if you wanted to examine what you did, how well you did in your previous lifetime, look at this karma, look at your body, look at your karma, and this will tell you how well you did in your past life. And if you wanted to know where you're going, the direction, then examine your thought, or examine your mind, whether you're engaging in a good or bad. When you're constantly engaged in a good direction, then you will surely enjoy good things in the past. So this is kind of the summary of outlook for a Dharma practitioner. So we're going to stop here.
Yeah, I get a little more time. I'm so sorry. United States time, I give you my time. Man, you to a common the royals in
So in the future, I hope you can raise more questions. You can bring up.
Canada to a common other Pinto does in Iran.
The most important thing is that when you ask me question, it's really beneficial for me.
여름 저 그들은 생각에 추기 돌린 라이디 지게 슈드 토볼데 지게 파 디스나 추기 돌린 뭐 말하지 지게 보고 나서 진 추기 돌린 채와이나 아니 나라에 캐랑돌에 타버린 인구도 왔습니다.
And His Holiness the Dalai Lama often remind us that a very good Dharma discussion is someone really talk freely. And a good Dharma discussion is not possible when the Lama sit in a really high throne, but it's rather sit like and we exchange our views and ideas, and that makes the discussion and the teaching very effective. So the question is good for us.
Thank you.
Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Ninyatayani Dwadi Loku Sunam Yeshe Satsoshin Sunam Yeshe Legend Way Damba Guni Topasho.
Then next week we will start a part of the Supreme Person.
The
Third, yes.
Yeah.
I think it is better. And I'm going to show this.
Do you want me to show the verses up there in English? Do you want me to try?
I don't have to read, I'm safe.
Yeah, okay, good. Now it'll save us time, everybody can have the same reference. And can we sing a happy birthday? For Anahita? Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you!